Hello everyone. I'm Yaakov Ashkenazi, and we at the AIA, we are delighted to welcome you to our third webinar in the last 2 months. Today it is titled The Palestinian Authority's Abuse of Its Own Children. Over the last 2 decades, and especially in Europe, we have grown accustomed to hearing that it is Israeli behavior that is an obstacle to peace. The settlements, military operations, the prisons, and so on. But the truth is that when your so-called peace partner is indoctrinating their children to hatred and violence toward Jews in Israel, it makes us revisit that question again. It is very difficult to make peace when the other side ensures the next generation grows up hating Israel and justifying violence. There's no better person to discuss this issue with us than Itamar, who is the director of Palestinian Media Watch. Itamar, thank you so much for joining us today, and the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Yaakov, and I want to thank AIA for inviting me. We've done so many things together over the years, and we've always had great cooperation working with you. I want you all to look at the title of this presentation, Palestinian Authority Child Abuse of Their Own Children. It's a surprising title. What authority, what country, what government abuses its own children? And this is what I'm accusing them. And I'm hoping that by the time we are finished today, you will be completely convinced that this is one of the great tragedies, that in fact, the Palestinian Authority is the greatest abuser of their own children. Now, Palestinian Media Watch was founded in 1996, and our goal was to find out what the Palestinian Authority was telling its own people in Arabic, how they were educating their children. And to this end, we are looking at PA society holistically, looking at the media as a source to everything we can find about the Palestinian Authority. We look at their sports pages. We've studied their school books, their culture, crossword puzzles, you name it. And what we've learned is that there are 2 different worlds. There's the world that they want you to see that is in English, that they want the international community to see, and then there's the internal world in Arabic. This is their internal messaging, and this includes, like I said, not just words, but deeds, sports, culture, everything, and that's what I'm going to give you a little window to today. I'll give you a window into the real world of the Palestinian Authority. Now, I mentioned that we study sports. I'm going to show you how something as innocent as sports can be something so significant in defining and forming a national identity of hate and national identity of violence. One of the things we've been following in the Palestinian Authority is its naming of sporting events after terrorists. Now, here you have, for example, last year they had a Dalal Mughrabi Sports Festival. Here you see dozens of girls who participated in this sports festival, high school girls. They all wore a t-shirt during the sports festival with a picture of this woman, Dalal Mughrabi. I'll show you another event named after her. Here was a karate championship last year, also named for Dalal Mughrabi. Who is this Dalal Mughrabi that the Palestinian Authority is naming these 2 tournaments and dozens of other tournaments and schools and other things after her? Who is this woman? She's the terrorist who led the hijacking of this bus in which these 12 children were murdered and an additional 25 adults. Altogether, 37 civilians were murdered in the attack that she led. And she is the person that the Palestinian Authority is presenting as a role model for children by naming all these sporting events, by naming schools, 5 schools, all named after this terrorist, Dalal Mughrabi. Now, it's not just in sports. I want to show you how she's presented in Palestinian school books. This is a section in a current Palestinian school book about heroes. And they teach the children as follows. Heroes have an important position in every nation. We're proud of them, sing their praise, learn their history, learn their lives, name our children after them, etc. Every one of us wishes to be like them. And then it has a list of 10 people. Who of us has forgotten these 10 people? All of them are fighters. Not one of them is an educator, not a sports person, not a cultural person. All of them are fighters since the beginning of Islam. And one of them is Dalal Mughrabi, mass murderer, killer of children, And what are they telling Palestinian children? Every one of us wishes to be like them. These heroes are the crown of their nation, the symbol of its glory, the best of the best. And it ends with this incredible line, bravo to the heroes and scorn to the cowards. Now, this is fifth grade education. 11-year-old children are being told that if they don't want to be like Dalal Mughbi, who murdered 37 and was killed in her terror attack, then they're cowards and scorn to you. And if you want to be, bravo to you, you're a hero. So this is the message in formal education in the Palestinian Authority. And there are many other horrific educational messages coming through sports, coming through school books in the PA. I want to show you the Ministry of Education is such a problem, not just for the text, but also for the entire environment they create. And I want to show you, for example, this is the entrance to a school in Bethlehem. And this plaque you see over here in stone is to commemorate the martyrs of the Al-Aqsa Intifada, and then they specify a specific name. Who is it? The martyr Ayat al-Akhras. Who is Ayat al-Akhras? She's the youngest female suicide bomber amongst Palestinians. She was a 17-year-old girl. Now you look at the ages. This is a high school for girls. You've got 17-year-old girls here, 17, the same age as Ayat al-Akhras, and every day when they walk into school, they are seeing that this is the person who is being honored. Palestinian Authority is telling them, this is your role model, this 17-year-old suicide bomber. So all of these are the incredible and shocking messages coming just by role modeling and just by naming in the Palestinian Authority. Now, one of the fundamental messages from which the Palestinian Authority draws its whole ideology, I'm sorry, something is skipping here in my PowerPoint, so I'll have to wait 1 second. I don't know why this is happening. Jumped ahead. Okay, I will go back to PowerPoint now. Okay, do you see this? Just make sure. Switch. Okay.
Itamar,
now,
we can't see the PowerPoint yet.
Do you see it now?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, now we can see.
Okay, you have it? Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
No.
Now, one of the fundamental messages that the PA is giving the people is that Jews and Israel are the source of all problems in the world, the source of all conflicts. And it is from this message that they justify the hatred, they justify the calls to kill, they justify the promotion of martyrdom. It's all connected to this. And I want to show you how they do this in the Palestinian Authority. Now, the person you're about to hear from in this video is the most important religious figure in the PA. He's the head of the religious courts. He's a supreme religious court judge, and he was also appointed by Abbas to be advisor. Now, listen to what he tells Palestinian the conflict is about. Now, remember, when Palestinian leaders come to Europe, come to England, they tell you that the conflict is about settlements, conflict is about land. Listen to what they are telling their own people.
الصراع المحتدم ها هنا في فلسطين بيننا وبين هذا الاحتلال المجرم صورة أخرى من صور الصراع التاريخي بين الحق والباطل، بين الخير والشر. على مدى التاريخ كان هناك صراع بين الخير والشر. الخير يمثله الأنبياء وأتباع الأنبياء، والشر يمثله الأبارز وأتباع الأبارز، الشياطين وأتباع الشياطين. ونحن ها هنا لا بدعة من الأمر. هو صراع بين حقيقتين، حقيقة الخير وحقيقة الشر، بين مشروعين، مشروع الرحمن ومشروع الشيطان.
Okay, this is such an important as well as dangerous message coming from the Palestinian Authority. The conflict is not about territory. The conflict is a historic conflict, not just against Israel, but against Jews, because Jews represent Satan, represent evil in the world, and therefore Israel is Satan's project. Now, in Islamic tradition, Satan is the force behind all the evil in the world, but Satan can't do evil by himself. Satan needs human beings to do the evil for him. So here what this top religious leader in the Palestinian Authority is telling his people is that Israel is literally Satan's representative in the world, and therefore Israel is Satan's project. The problem is Jews. The problem is not, Palestinian Authority says they're not anti-Semitic. Here they're saying that all the world's problems are connected to Jews because Jews are Satan's representative. Again, the most important religious figure. Now, I want to show you how they pass this message on to children. This is one example amongst many where Israelis are being presented as either Satan or being presented as an aid to Satan. This is something that Palestinian Authority broadcast twice. It's an entire series that ran twice during the Ramadan. And the story talks about how Satan is trying to destroy Islam and Muhammad at the beginning of Islam. And look who Satan chooses as his partner. Okay, so here you have this extremely scary looking Satan, and you can also imagine the age of the children who are watching this. This is a cartoon. This could be for children 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. And what are they being told? That Satan's whole plan is based on the hatred the Jews have for Muhammad. Now, we know how important Muhammad is in Islam. In Islam, if you draw a picture of Muhammad, it's a capital crime. And yet here, Satan is saying Jews are trying to destroy Muhammad. So this is a message, and it's coming to children. So we're seeing something very interesting here. We're hearing the top religious figure saying that Jews represent Satan in the world. And now we're seeing how the Palestinian Authority is transmitting this message to their children. Now, once this message is established, then everything that happens in the world that is bad can be attributed to Jews or to Israel. I'll give you some of the examples here. Here is a Palestinian Authority religious figure giving the sermon on official Palestinian television. And these are his words. There is no global corruption that they are not behind. There's no global corruption the rabbis did not allow. Literally, Jews are responsible for everything that's going wrong in the world. Very simple message coming from another religious figure. Here now we see it in a more popular message. Here we see during the height of the Sunni and Shia civil wars, where they were killing tens and tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people in a year. And so the Shia was blowing up the Sunni blowing up the Shia, but who was really behind the whole thing is this stereotypical Jew with the, the flag of Israel over here. So again, Muslims are killing Muslims, but actually the Jews were behind it. Well, when Muslims, ISIS, killed Christians in Paris, 129 people were killed in this terror attack. What did Fatah put on their Facebook page? They put a picture. ISIS, yes, pulled the trigger, but it was actually Netanyahu who was directing it. Again, same message as Jews or Israelis behind bad things that happen in the world. An op-ed in last year's newspaper said that the Arab Spring, which didn't work out and which is a disaster, was actually an arid summer that was an American-Israeli plan. And they even said that the civil war in the Palestinian Authority was caused by Israel and the Americans. So that when bad things happen anywhere, even internal strife and even internal fights and civil wars, everything is Israel's responsibility. Here, this was a statement on official Palestinian Authority television. This was at the height of the ISIS trouble. And the person who said it is Fayez Abbas. He's PATV's Israel Affairs expert. And he still is on TV, this Israel Affairs expert. What did he say? ISIS took all of its religious ideas from Judaism. Okay? Again, very, very hateful toward Jews. They're seeing Jews as the source of the problem that manifests itself in Israel today. And again, this is still today, currently, he's still the Israel Affairs expert for Palestinians on TV. Now, this is very significant. Here you're seeing Palestinian Authority religious figure. He has a weekly program on TV. Listen to what he told Palestinians, and then I'll tell you what happened to him.
تنعم البشرية بالسلام ولا بالبركة ولا بهداءة البال ولا براحة الحال وما زال هؤلاء بس لو أن سمكة تقاتلت مع سمكة في البحر لأيقنت أنه.
Okay, if a fish in the sea fights another fish, I'm sure the Jews are behind it. Now, this is exactly what I'm trying to make you understand about Palestinian Authority religious ideology. Because we are Satan's representative, what he's saying is everything bad that happens in the world, even strife amongst animals, strife amongst people, everything that happens in the world, Jews are responsible. Now, this person had a weekly program on official Palestinian Authority television, and then look what happens to him. He has a meeting with Mahmoud Abbas, head of the PA, and what happens? Abbas appoints him to be head dean of an entire school system, the Al-Azhar schools in Gaza. So being a vicious anti-Semite doesn't prevent Mahmoud Abbas from raising this person to a position of education. So now this message that Jews are responsible for every single thing that's wrong in the world, even when animals fight each other, this is now the message of the head of an entire school system in Gaza. I want to show you one fascinating example and tragic example. Fatah, which is supposed to be the moderate party, it's the party of Mahmoud Abbas. They have an educational division. They call it their Commission for Information and Culture. Last year, they produced a video that was trying to explain why the Jews were having trouble in Europe and what brought about the Holocaust. And this is what they produced. And then they put this on Fatah's official Facebook page. Listen to this hate messaging coming from Mahmoud Abbas's political party.
يقيم القوم مخيماتهم وأماكن سكناهم. جيتوهات الضيقة تبنى أعمدتها على الانفكاك عن البشر غرورا واشمئزازا من أغيار أناس هم أفاعل أبناء أفاعل حسب رؤيتهم. هناك يحاك كل مؤامرات الاستقلال ويكره سكان الأرض جيتوهات القوم ومخازن تصدير الحقد والاستغلال ليتحولوا إلى مكون معادى لعنصريتهم وقذارة أعمالهم، لا لتفوقهم أو ذكائهم أو تدينهم أو أفضليتهم. رحل الاستغلال هذا منشأ الصهيوني. يقدم الأثرياء من القوم مشروع استعباد الإنسان واستغلالها، متاجرين بدماء أبناء قومهم مستردين.
Okay. It's just not imaginable. It is the worst type of hate that can be presented. It's turning history upside down. The Jews were in ghettos in many places in Europe because the Europeans did not want the Jews to live amongst them. And here he turns it upside down. The Jews actually built the ghettos because they didn't want to live amongst the other people. And in those ghettos, the Jews schemed and planned to subjugate humanity. And the Jews even connected with the Nazis and try to get profits out of burning people. It is unimaginable, and the great tragedy is this is coming from Fatah. This is the mainstream. This is not Hamas, who everybody knows is extremist. This is coming from Abbas's party, the Fatah party. Now, I want to show you how this hate promotion continued during the recent COVID-19 crisis, which is still going on. I want to show you how the Palestinian Authority again turned history on its head as it was happening. Now, first I want to show you what actually happened. What actually happened is that Israel immediately decided to do everything in its power to make sure that there would not be an outbreak of COVID-19 in the Palestinian areas. And in fact, it's been very, very successful. But let me just show you what we did. So the COGAT, which is the Israeli body that is the coordinating body between Israel and the Palestinian Authority, they started publishing tweets where they showed the world what they were doing. So here, one day we transferred 1,000 coronavirus testing kits. Then they show pictures how we went to 2 hospitals in Jerusalem to train people. Here's another visit to a 3rd hospital, the Al-Maqasid hospital in Jerusalem, to train them. And here you see the Israelis training the Palestinian doctors. Here we're talking about Israelis going to Jericho to train doctors in Jericho. Here we have thousands of protective suits being sent. Here you see truckloads of 20 tons of disinfectant being sent from Israel to the Palestinian areas. Here you have a summary. In the previous week, 88 tons of medical supplies were transferred. And then again, in the previous week, 464 tons of medical supplies were transferred to Gaza from Israel. This was constant. I've given you a few examples. There were dozens and dozens of posts like this. Every single day, Israel was helping the Palestinian Authority, and thanks to Israel's help, nothing bad happened in the Palestinian Authority. There were a very small number of cases, very, very few deaths, and this was thanks to Israel's help. Now, what did the Palestinian Authority do while Israel was doing all of this? If you were reading the Palestinian Authority official statements from their official media and from their leaders, you could not believe what they were saying. So first of all, here's from their official newspaper: just as we will overcome the coronavirus, we will certainly overcome the occupations virus, meaning Israeli virus, which is more dangerous than all of nature's virus. Then you have here a picture. Israel is like the coronavirus. Israel is trying to spread the coronavirus. They had this cartoon in the official newspaper. Israel is shooting the coronavirus, trying to infect Palestinians. Now look at this. Wafa, the official Palestinian Authority news agency, a complete and total libel as follows. Israeli soldiers threw garbage and spat on the doors of cars. They used stick lights contaminated with material of an unknown nature, garbage. They used gloves and syringes amongst the residents' homes. They spit on the doors in cars and cursed the residents with racist expressions. There is not even a smattering of truth. You saw Israel was doing just the opposite. This is what they were telling their people. Here you have the official spokesman. The government spokesman went on TV and said Israel is contaminating the ATM machines and spitting on them in order to spread the epidemic. And here you've got Fatah spreading that Israel is opening up agricultural gates to send people who are sick back into the Palestinian Authority. Here's another one from the official newspaper. Some people carry out quality suicide bombing attacks from afar. That is, Israel is carrying out suicide bombing attacks without explosives or explosive belts because they are using coronavirus as a biological weapon. So we're doing biological suicide bombing against them. Again, this is the official newspaper. And even here, we are doing a Holocaust against Palestinian prisoners, not through ovens, but rather through an invisible virus that still has no cure. We are supposedly killing Palestinian prisoners with the virus. Not one prisoner has been sick, yet they said we're doing a Holocaust. What you're seeing here, and here's the final example here, is the coronavirus in the prisons is killing them, and the Israeli soldier is doing nothing. One final example, which is unbelievable. Toward April, after a few months of Israeli help, the Palestinian population was realizing how much help the Palestinians were getting from Israel. It wasn't being mentioned in the press. So what happens? You've got Saeb Arikat, top Palestinian official, has to tell Palestinian television why Palestinians are getting help from Israel, and he literally apologizes. He says as follows. He doesn't say how much help they're getting. This is what he words. If all the family members in a home do not cooperate, the epidemic will spread. So how much more so between states? In other words, it will only be possible to control the epidemic after finding the necessary treatment, the necessary vaccine. Therefore, we began to cooperate with the occupation authorities. He is literally apologizing to the Palestinian people for working with Israel. He doesn't even say that they're getting help, they're getting aid, they're getting hundreds of millions of shekels worth of equipment. He doesn't say that. He just says we began to cooperate, but literally because, and why is this necessary? It's necessary because of all of the demonization that the Palestinian Authority leadership has been doing, that you've been seeing some examples of. Because of all of this demonization, they had to literally apologize for accepting Israeli help. This is Palestinian Authority leadership message. Now, because Israel is doing all of this, because Jews are doing all this, we're Satan's ally, we're the source of all evil, we're spreading coronavirus. Because of all of this, killing Jews then is for Allah. Killing Jews protects all humanity. And in fact, extermination of Jews is inevitable. These are Palestinian Authority messages, and I'm going to show you just two examples of this kind of messaging. This was from a couple of years ago on official Palestinian Authority television. Sermon was very long. I'll just read some of the highlights. The Jews are always corrupting, scheming, plotting against humanity, not just against Muslims, but against all humanity. Jews are a danger to humanity, just like Satan, danger to humanity. And then these malignant genes and cursed characteristics continue in them from generation to generation. They inherit it from father to son. Humanity will never be able to live together with them. So this is the key message. The problem with the Jews is not our behavior. It's in our genes. We pass it from father to son, generation to generation. Humanity can never live with them. Well, if humanity can't live with the Jews, then the solution is to get rid of the Jews. And this is what he says. He quotes here from an Islamic source, which goes as follows. At the end of time, Muslims will fight the Jews, and the Jews will hide behind the stone and a tree, and the stone and the tree will say, Muslim, servant of Allah, there's a Jew behind me, come and kill him. The end of time, the redemption of humanity, the resurrection is contingent upon Muslims killing Jews. And then he makes clear that everybody understands him. He has a prayer at the end, Allah, count them and kill them one by one. Do not leave even one. In case anyone missed the point, genocide is what he is asking for. Genocide, not because he's evil, but because the Jews are the source of all evil. Humanity can never live together with them. So listen, Allah, solve the problem for humanity. Bring that extermination of the Jews. This is official Palestinian Authority messaging to its people. Now, I'm going to show you just a couple of months ago, the most important religious figure. This is Mahmoud al-Abbas. You saw him in the beginning say that Jews represent Satan. He went on television and he gave a list of 10 capital crimes that the Quran, he says, permits killing. Now, he doesn't say the word Israelis, but it's clear that he's talking about Israelis. And this is what he said. If someone comes to attack me, my home, my land, my homeland, my property, my honor, my family, your existence, your rights, your souls. Now, these are all crimes that the Palestinian Authority is constantly accusing Israel of. They say we've stolen their land. They say we've stolen their homeland. Sorry. They say we've stolen their homeland. They say we destroy their homes. They say we don't give them their rights, such as the so-called right of return. They're constantly accusing us of shaming them and destroying their honor. So these are 10 capital crimes, 10 crimes that Jews are responsible for. And then what does he say? If someone does any of these things, he continues, I am commanded to fight him. I'm commanded to confront him. I'm commanded to resist him. And I'm allowed to kill him if necessary. As Prophet Muhammad said, as in this verse, this is a quote from the Quran, kill them wherever you find them. As long as they're targeting you, you're allowed to fight them and also to kill them. Literally, and again, this is while the world is fighting against Corona, while Israel's helping the Palestinian Authority, the most important religious figure comes on TV and says, you are obligated to fight Israelis because of all these attacks that you're doing on your home, your land, your property, etc. And you're even allowed to kill them. And who's he attributing this message to? The Quran itself, the Prophet Muhammad. So this is literally telling Palestinians, you have a right to kill everything Israelis. Now, because of this, the Palestinian Authority packages these messages not just in sermons, but they package them in so many different ways, in music, in messages for children. I want to show you some of this packaging beyond the religious, how they package it in popular ways. Here's a music video that's been running on Palestinian Authority television since 2017 and right through the coronavirus. Listen to the message on official Palestinian Authority television coming in a music video. Okay, literally, he's saying that we should be striving to die as martyrs. He's praying to Allah, God, promise us, we beg of you, grant us martyrdom there. And then they have a picture over here. Who is this a picture? This is Wafa Idris, first female suicide bomber. That's who they're putting up here. In case somebody missed the point of what he's saying, they show Wafa Idris. Now they show one more picture. Look. Okay, who do they show here? This is Ayat al-Akhras. This is that same 17-year-old girl that we saw before, her name in front of the school. She also, her picture appears here. And we're begging, Palestinians are begging to be suicide bombers, begging to Allah to allow them to die for him as martyrs. And then it ends, the song continues, filled with desire. They're going to the paradise of immortals, to a wedding procession with angels that fills Palestine with light. What does he mean? A wedding procession in Islamic tradition, a martyr marries 72 virgins, dark-eyed maidens, literally is what it's called. And that's what he's promising them. I don't know exactly what he's promising the female suicide bombers, but these are the words of the song, that you should not be afraid to be a suicide bomber because you're going to paradise of immortals filled with desire. This is official Palestinian Authority TV, and I'm telling you, it's running now since 2017, right through February of this year on PATV. Here's another example. This was broadcast 3 times. A new song broadcast 3 times during the coronavirus period. Okay. Again, no weapon in the world can remove. So you've got the combination here of music. It's not a religious figure. It's a popular song. We've heard many, many different renditions of this over the years. This is a new one that we're just hearing now for the first time now. Here's another one. And here we're going now to the level of children. Listen to this message that appeared in April of this year, a month ago, on Palestinian TV. Al-Aqsa is more precious than my children and more precious than my family. And you have a woman's voice who is saying this message, official Palestinian Authority TV message to their people. Al-Aqsa, meaning Jerusalem, is more important than your children. Again, this connects with the message of martyrdom. Don't even worry about losing your children. That's what's being told here. And then also, this one has appeared numerous times since 2018 and numerous times now in 2020 as well. So if you're encouraging mothers to not care about their children or to allow them to be martyrs for Al-Aqsa or for Palestinianism, listen to this one. Like I say, he's been on TV, on Voice of Palestine radio since 2018 and through 2020. Okay, make sounds of joy, mother of the martyr. Remember, we just heard in the other song that Al-Aqsa is more important than children. So then if the mother sends her child who becomes a martyr, she should make sounds of joy. Sounds of joy. And you don't mourn with her. You say congratulations on the martyrdom death of your children. These are the messages coming through. This is all official PA, not Hamas. This is PA sources in the Palestinian Authority. Now, it's not just about children. The messages are also to children. And I'll show you a couple of examples of this. This is, again, official Palestinian Authority children's program on TV. Okay, young girl on Palestinian TV. My homeland, my veins are full of blood for you. With blood, we have woven the shrouds. This is this, and then she continues, oh homeland, our souls are a gift for you. And the moderator says, bravo, bravo, thank you, thank you, thank you. Message for young children to learn by heart. Another example, the same program. I'm the Palestinian Lion Club. The blood of the martyrs flows in my vein. Look at the ages of these children who are being brainwashed, that martyrdom is something that they should be striving for. We hear this, we've heard this every year, dozens of times since we started following the Palestinian Authority. It's not a new message. It has never stopped. It's continuing today. And I'm going to show you one of the worst messages we heard just a few months ago on Fatah's Facebook page. It's a little story about that a girl is telling about a boy who wanted to, his mother wanted him to finish his food, so she promises him a gift. And this is where we pick it up. This was first on the radio, and then Fatah decided they liked it so much, they put it on their Facebook page. Listen.
فأمه
تساءل بجنون ألعبة تكون. أقبلت أمه بطلة بهية تحمل الهدية، نظر إليها فإذا بها بندقية. صاح بأعلى صوته: يا أمي يا أمي، ما هذه؟ أهذه هي الهدية؟ ضمته إليها واحتضنته بيديها وقالت: يا بني، لم نخلق للسعادة، فأنت في نظري مشروع بالشهادة. فالقدس لنا وسلاحنا إسلامنا وذخيرتنا أرض.
Our weapon is Islam and our ammunition is our children. You are meant for martyrdom. This is the message that Fatah thought was important to give to children, so they put this on their Facebook page. Now, go back to the original title of this presentation. Palestinian Authority, abuse of their own children. Can there be a greater abuse of a child than to tell that child that you personally are worthless? You are just ammunition. You are not destined for happiness, you are destined for martyrdom. That's the message the Palestinian Authority, Fatah here, is giving to its people. And it's giving to its children. And you see it comes through in this item here, it comes through in the videos of Palestinian Authority television, the messages to children, the children's programming, the music videos, the song, all throughout Palestinian society, wherever a Palestinian child is looking, this is the message that's being sent to them by the responsible leadership, not by fringe, but by the leadership of the Palestinian Authority. Now, another thing I just want to touch on is the rewarding of terrorists. Now, because the Palestinian Authority tells its people that it's the right thing to do to kill Israelis, it's the right thing to do to die killing Israelis, to be a martyr. Because of this, after the fact, when someone does it, they turn the people into Palestinian heroes. They honor them. They glorify them. Here we have Mahmoud Abbas, head of the PA, on TV a couple of years ago saying, we view the martyrs and prisoners as stars in the sky of the Palestinian people, in the sky of the Palestinian people's struggle. They have priority in everything. The prisoners here, of course, means the terrorists. They are stars in the sky. They have priority over everything. The Palestinian Authority, this story that Palestinian Media Watch has been telling the entire world for years, and the world is finally doing something about this. The Palestinian Authority pays monthly salaries to the Palestinian Authority terrorists who are in prison, and they pay lifetime allowances to families of the so-called martyrs, which means the families of suicide bombers and others who were killed while fighting Israelis. And I'll give you just one example here. We've created these posters so people understand what we are talking about when we say salaries. The two terrorists named Itamar and Hakim Awad, they were two cousins. In 2011, they went into the home of the Fogel family, Ruth Fogel and Ehud, and they murdered the parents, and they murdered the children. They literally slit their throats, cut them up, something that's not imaginable that this could be done to a human being by another human being. Well, these people, the two terrorists, were arrested by Israel. They were put in jail. And they have already received, this is actually 2 years ago, they've already received close to $150,000 in Palestinian Authority salaries just because they went to jail for being terrorists. They weren't getting salaries before, they weren't on the payroll, but because they did a terror attack and ended up in jail, they get a salary. Today, there are close to 6,000 Palestinian prisoners in jail, all related to terror, many of them murderers, mass murderers, who are all receiving a Palestinian Authority salary that comes to hundreds of millions of US dollars every year. Now, I'll tell you what else they do. They don't just pay them, they honor them, they glorify them. And I wanted to show you an example of who they're honoring and glorifying and the language that they're using. These are two Israelis who were murdered by a Palestinian. They worked in a place just north of Jerusalem. One of their co-workers named Ashraf Na'ala came to where they were working. First he did is he shot Ziv, who father of three, and then he saw Kim. He didn't know what to do, so he tied her up. He made some phone calls, and then the people on the phone said, you should kill her too. And then he literally, while she was tied up, lying on the ground, he shot and murdered her. So this is Ashraf Na'ala. He escaped, and for about a month and a half, he was in hiding. Now look what Fatah put on their official Facebook page. while he was in hiding about this mass murderer, about this, excuse me, this cruel murderer. They wrote as follows: the wanted one, Ashraf Nala, Allah is protecting you and taking care of you. Now, why would Fatah think that Allah is happy with this murderer who just killed these two young people and brought such tragedy to their lives and to their families? What? But if you remember everything I've told you, that killing of Jews is being presented as a religious act, as something that Allah wants. So therefore, this murderer who killed these two young people, Fatah publicizes that Allah is protecting him. Now, a few weeks later, this terrorist was caught and killed. And on the day he was killed, these are all different posts, 7, 8 different posts that Fatah posted honoring him. Now, look what they called him, amongst other things: the legend, the heroic self-sacrificing fighter. Why is this person a legend? Because he, in cold blood, murdered 2 of his co-workers. He's heroic. He's a self-sacrificing fighter. This is what Fatah is writing about him. And of course, they write that he will be accompanied to his weddings, our heroic martyrs. He's going to have his wedding. Of course, he's having a wedding because he is now dead and he died for Allah according to Palestinian ideology, and therefore he is going to be rewarded with the 72 virgins in paradise. And they use this expression on the Facebook page: we will accompany him to his wedding. Now, the final item I want to show you, and then hopefully we'll have a few minutes for questions, is that I've talked here about the Palestinian Authority message, which I think is the fundamental message for which they kill Israelis, which is that Jews literally don't have a right to exist. Israelis don't have a right to exist. We violate all of the principles that the Palestinian Authority says are violations of the Quran, which give us, which enable them to kill us. We're stealing their homes, we're stealing their land, their homeland, etc. Everything I showed you there by the top religious figure, the list of 10 capital crimes. In addition, though, even the issue of land, the Palestinian Authority likewise doesn't say that Israel has a right to exist, just the opposite. The goal of the Palestinian Authority is to destroy Israel. They tell it to their people all the time. And I'll just give you one final item here. I didn't deal with this issue because this issue is, I think, it's as terrible as it is, telling Palestinians that they have to fight to destroy Israel. I think the message that every single Israeli who is killed it's actually a religious act. It's something that Allah is approving of. I think that is the most horrific message. And it's also not known as much as this one is. Now, let me just show you here. This is Tawfiq Tarawi. I won't play it because it's a long one, but I'll just read it to you. This is a top Palestinian official, February of this year, said what we've heard so many times. And what does he say? Who said that we Palestinians are for a state on the 67 borders? Who said this? In Fatah, this does not exist in our constitution and our charter. So Fatah, the supposedly moderate one, said we'll never accept a state on the 67 borders. We say that Nazareth, Haifa, Akko, these are all Israeli cities, are Palestinian and will remain Palestinian. Our Palestinian land is from the river to the sea, meaning Israel doesn't have a right to exist and Israel won't exist. Many even says even further. I dare any Palestinian, any senior Palestinian official, any Palestinian leader to reduce the Palestinian map to the West Bank and Gaza. He would not be able to walk 1 meter in the streets of our Palestinian cities amongst our people. So he's saying here, not only is this my opinion, but this is the opinion of the entire Palestinian population, and therefore you will never, ever hear a Palestinian leader telling Palestinians that the map of Palestine is just the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Now, when Palestinians go to London, when they go to Brussels, when they go to Washington, that's exactly what they say. We just want a small Palestine, West Bank, and Gaza Strip. But as Tawfiq Tarawi is telling us here, the message to their own people is that Palestine is from the river to the sea. There is no Israel. There will be no Israel. And you're hearing it from the top. So if I can just summarize what I'm telling you and to go back to the original title, the Palestinian Authority, child abuse of its own children. The Palestinian Authority has 2 distinct messages. The one that they present in London is so moderate. You'd think that they were peace-loving people who just care about their kids. The message to their own people is that children are ammunition. Children should want to be martyrs. All of Israel has to be destroyed. Every Jew every Israeli has committed capital crimes just by being Israelis. Anyone who murders Israelis, even their co-workers, Allah is protecting them. Allah cares about them. They did the right thing. And eventually, at the end of time, all the Jews are going to be exterminated. This is Fatah, Palestinian Authority ideology. And as you saw, it's transmitted to the children. One of the reasons that we publicize this is because we so much want peace. The only way we will have peace is if all of the countries of the world tell the Palestinian Authority that they, as long as they behave like a terror organization, they're not going to get funding and they're not going to get political support, and they're going to be isolated just the same way Hamas is isolated, the same way that ISIS was isolated, the same way Al-Qaeda was isolated. The Palestinian Authority is in those categories. The difference is that ISIS, Hamas, and Al-Qaeda, they said their messages openly. The Palestinian Authority, though, has two messages, and this is and this is what is full of the international community. It is our hope that our message will get out to countries like Britain, as it is to many countries. Countries already cut off funding to the Palestinian Authority because a lot of them that Britain will join them and other countries will join them.
Itamar, can you hear me? You just got cut off in the middle all of a sudden. We just hear you very broken. Can you maybe get closer to the screen? Just a second.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, now we can hear better, yeah.
Now you hear me better. Okay, so just the final message is that our hope is that Britain and other European countries will give the message to the Palestinian Authority that as long as you behave like an organization, teach your people the importance of killing Israelis and Jews, you are going to be isolated and you are going to be in the same category with Hamas, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda. That will happen. That may force the Palestinian Authority to change their messages to their people and to their children. Hopefully that will lead to a new education in the PA, and possibly a generation from now, we'll have a population that we can make peace with. Thank you. If you have questions, please, if we have time.
Yes, we do. We do have 10 minutes for questions. Itamar, thank you very much. This was both fascinating and disturbing at the same time. Richard is asking, and it follows from your last point, that the British government and other governments have registered some complaints, particularly about Palestinian school textbooks. What effect, if any, does this have? So, has there been any change based on complaints that have been filed by foreign governments about this?
So we did our first report on Palestinian school books in 1998, 1999. The international community put pressure on the Palestinian Authority. They changed the books in 2000, 2001, 2002, very slowly. They were a little bit better. The world stopped looking, and then they put all the hatred back in. In 2007, we did another report on Palestinian school books. Hillary Clinton appeared with me at a press conference in the Senate, and she said the Palestinians are profoundly poisoning the minds of their children. This led to more pressure on the PA, and again they changed their school books and made them a little bit better. And now the world stopped looking, and now what they're doing is they put all of the hatred basically back into the Palestinian school books. So what's going to happen now is there's international pressure about the school books. The PA will fix them up superficially for a couple of years, and then they'll put the hatred back in. What's happened is you have to realize, and the British government has to realize, and I think this presentation makes it perfectly clear, the problem is not just the written texts in the school books. It's an entire attitude that killing of Jews is something that is not only honorable, it's something that God wants. As long as Palestinians continue to receive that message, no changes and no superficial changes in the school books are going to make a difference. And as soon as Europe and as soon as England is not looking again, they're going to put the hatred back in, and they're going to put the messages back in. The international community has to look at the PA holistically and tell them that you are in the category of a terror supporting entity. You are in the category of a terror entity until you completely change all of your ideology. What happens, we're going to be plugging one hole, but the Palestinian Authority is going to continue with their hate messages someplace else. And that's why I'm disappointed that Britain has been excellent in criticizing the Palestinian Authority. Over the years, they've actually froze funding a number of times. But unless they tell the Palestinian Authority that the holistic message that you're giving to your people puts you in a terror category, then we're not going to have any real improvement.
Thank you, Itamar. One more question. Does UNICEF or Save the Children do anything about it? So where does the UN, UNICEF, come in here and other NGOs?
The UN is, as you know, a major problem. The UN has a majority that is automatically pro-Palestinian, and anything that the Palestinian Authority wants will get through, and what they don't want won't get through. One of the things that PMW is doing, aside from for many years, we've been, as you know, have been many times to London, met with government officials, met with members of parliament, met with delegations that were in Israel many times, as well as all of the countries, all the main countries of Europe. What we're starting now is actually going to Africa. I was in Rwanda a few months ago, and there the MPs who I spoke to were completely shocked by what was going on. And the idea is to have BMW now and I see a tremendous potential in Africa, and I'll tell you why. Because the African countries are very appreciative of what Israel is doing for them financially, helping with agriculture, helping with healthcare. Israel's helping against Israel in all of these political settings, because they somehow have been brainwashed to believe that the Palestinian Authority are victims of colonialism, and the Palestinian Authority are good to their people, good to their children. All they want is peace. And when I showed this to the members of parliament in Rwanda, he was completely shocked. And the plan is now, as soon as the corona problem and the COVID-19 problem is behind us, we're going to be going to one country after another in Africa, and hopefully shock them into realizing that Israel is not only helping them, deserving of political support, but Israel is the one deserving of political support, because we are the ones who have justice on our side in this conflict with the Palestinian Authority. It's the Palestinian Authority that is promoting hate, promoting terror, poisoning their minds of their children, and I hope that we can have a nice impact in Africa. Like I said, it's something that we're planning in the coming months.
Thank you, Itamar. One more question that's just arrived. What about Defense for Children International, who have highlighted Israel's abuses towards Palestinian children in numerous occasions? Have they said anything about Palestinian abuses of their own children?
Unfortunately not. And by the way, I'll add one more thing, one more project that we're about to start, which I hope will be effective. We are about to start a project that we're doing together with Palestinians. There are many Palestinians who are sick of this kind of hate promotion by their leadership. And some of them are working with us behind the scenes. One of these Palestinians actually met just before the COVID-19 crisis in January, when there was a delegation in Israel from the Netherlands. This Palestinian met with me, and I made my presentation, and then he talked about his experiences and how basically corroborated everything that I said, and talked about how dangerous it is, and how he's just one of the fortunate few who eventually had that wow moment where he was able to leave this and befriend Israelis who he now understands really just want to live in peace with him. And it's together with him and with many other Palestinians that we're creating a framework for Palestinians to protest. Their faces are going to be hidden. It's going to be a website. It's going to be a Facebook page. Their faces are going to be hidden, but it's going to be Palestinians who are working in defense of Palestinian children to expose the hatred. And like I said, you won't see their faces, but you will hear their voices. We're actually expanding now, not just Palestinians, but to Muslims. And as soon as, again, this crisis is over, we will launch this website, which will be a voice for Palestinians who are likewise like Israelis, who just want peace and are sick of the Palestinian leadership. And it will essentially be a call for the international community to free the Palestinian Authority from their leaders, coming from not PMW, but coming from the Palestinians who we're working with.
Itamar, just on time. Let me just put a video on. Thank you, Itamar. Thank you very much. This has been, like I said, fascinating, and it's essentially a call for action for all of us to make sure that our governments hold the Palestinians accountable and the Palestinian Authority accountable for this kind of child abuse and indoctrination. Thank you very much, Itamar. Thanks everyone for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you to AA. I'll be happy to continue working together with you.
Thank you.
Are we off?